Welcome to Fightline, brought to you in conjunction with Buy My Fight and Westbound Logistics Services. My name is Ben Doughty, and I hope to be joined by the inimitable Spencer Fearon. Master Knowledge, can you read me?
I can't read you, but I'm all right, mate. I'm here.
You can't even see me, which you probably consider to be a blessing, Spencer, but let's not get into that. Spence, if you forgive the pun, I didn't exactly have a golden week last week. I tried to pick 4 winning semi-finalists of the Golden Contract Light Heavyweight series, as I'd done so successfully with the light welter version. And long story short, only one of them that I tipped actually won. The rest of it did seem to be a bit of a night of upsets, and I messed up with that. I also fancied Richard Comey possibly to upset the apple cart against the young sensation Teofimo Lopez, and
my friend, a lot of people did. So you didn't do nothing wrong with calling that fight. A lot of people did, especially after Teofimo Lopez's last 2 fights. He was a bit lackluster and a little bit unimpressive. So
yeah,
you know what I mean, on that, I think anybody who listens to your show who watches your show can give you a little bit of a squeeze on that one.
Okay, on the double header, as it were, although it was implicitly perhaps their chief support, Terence Crawford came through a tougher than expected tussle against the meme machine Askus. And there was I want to talk to you, Spencer. There was a knockdown in the 3rd round, right? Which was
100%. That was a knockdown.
We'll take a quick look at that now, Spencer. 1 second. I know you can't see it, but please bear with me. Crawford gets nailed with a straight right hand right there. It's a delayed reaction knockdown, Spencer. He goes down to his haunches. He gets up quickly. Referees have a tough job. They've got to call it. It was possible it was even a little bit on his blind side, but it was definitely a knockdown, and Crawford wasn't seriously hurt, but he was decked. True?
I would call that a knockdown. I would say it was kind of very similar to Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns 1989.
Yeah.
Was that June 1989 when was it round 3? Hearns hits him with a hard shot firstly, then backs him up. Then kind of the second shot was a glancing blow, but it was equilibrium was messed up from the first shot. And I would have called that a knockdown.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And certain of my American friends said anyone who actually knew anything about Chavez Jr wasn't surprised he gave him a tough fight, because the guy is no joke. I mean, obviously he had the draw with Ray Robinson and such.
That was his last fight out.
Indeed.
Yeah, he's a very, very Askus meme machine. He's a very, very tough human being. Was he Lithuanian, right?
Yeah.
He's very thick set, and he'd be a handful for anyone, and especially a slick boxer like Terence Crawford. There was a lot of pressure on him now, because they say he's pound for pound number 2, and other people in the other denominations said he's pound for pound number 1.
Yeah.
To put in pound for pound performances each time that he shows up and he fights, and that is the pressure that's on him, because he could, I believe, he could have easily stunk the fight out and just one off of the jab, one long, very similar to how when he boxed Victor Postol. But he said, no, I'm a championship fighter, and I'm going to put in a championship performance. And when you put yourself in a championship performance, that means you're trying to punch harder as well, be more close up in range. And when you're in range to hit somebody with a hard shot, they're in range to hit you too.
I could not agree with you more wholeheartedly. I think he brought it. I think he went to war for the hell of it. I think he thought it's a fan-friendly ethos. If you've got confidence in your chin and also in your punching power, you can be as slick and evasive as you like, but some fighters have it in their soul that they think, I like to have a bit of a bang-up sometimes. Joe Calzaghe was a good defensive fighter, a great movement, but he said, when he would slug it out with guys like Mikkel Kessler, because he said, that's who I am, man. And I think Crawford, I agree with you, he could have played it safer, but he wanted to entertain it. True?
Yeah, 100%. You can't say no less than that. There is, like I said, in the position that he's in, there's a lot of pressure, and there is the emphasis of the fact that you are top tier. So therefore, give us a top tier performance, especially after they say like Lomachenko's number 1, he's number 2. In other quarters, they say that he's number 1 and Lomachenko's number 2. In other quarters, they say that Canelo's number 1.
Yeah.
Right. So it's who you actually favor yourself stylistically, and who you kind of model yourself on, that you can say who is your pound for pound number 1. It doesn't matter. He's a top flight, one of the best fighters in the world, right? That's how it is.
I can't have a conversation with you, of all people, without addressing this particular subtext to the situation. Timothy Bradley said after the fight that the only real man down at PBC is Deontay Wilder, who's willing to take on the challenges. He said all the other leading welterweights need to put their big boy pants on, to quote verbatim, and fight Terence Crawford, step up to the plate. To which, rather charmingly, Errol Spence replied via Twitter, and I stress emphatically that these are his words, not mine. He said, Tim Bradley, shut your coon ass up. Now, let's explain this, because that might shock some people in Middle America hearing a white man utter those words. But I'm quoting Terence Crawford. Sorry, I'm quoting Errol Spence on a lawsuit from Crawford. You can help me out on this, Spence. That term, which I'm not going to use again, is actually similar in today's parlance amongst black people. It means Uncle Tom, or somebody who is an establishment figure who is being somewhat subservient to the establishment. Is that true?
Yeah, 100%. But the thing about it is this: is like I think wrongfully, Timothy Bradley gets a lot of stick.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to get into this whole racial politics of everything else, but Errol Spence has spoken on many times openly about race. Just like when he fought Mikey Garcia and Sugar Ray Leonard picked Mikey Garcia to beat him. He said you'd never see Julio Cesar Chavez go against a Mexican fighter.
It shouldn't be like that, though, should it? It should.
Obviously, it should never ever. It shouldn't be based on that. Mm-hmm. But on the same level, I do understand where he's coming from. Where you say, well, you don't go against your own. But you see, that's very divisive within itself. Yeah. Now, regardless that it's been like that for the people who have been ostracized and have faced the backlash of racism over the years, but there's certain times that you have to rise above those social and economical paradigms.
Absolutely.
So I understand where he was coming from with the Sugar Ray Leonard thing. Now, many people. Now, the thing about it is, I believe that I know Timothy Bradley. I don't know him excellently well, but I know him, and I think Black America gives him a lot of stick because he's married to a Mexican lady. Okay. I'm saying, in this day and age, fix yourself up. So friggin' what? You know what I mean? Is the guy a good guy? I believe that Timothy Bradley is actually a good guy. And what it is this: is like when you're in that position of that role that he is in, you know what I mean? You can't be Timothy Bradley from the corners. You get what I'm trying to say to you? You got to be Timothy Bradley, and you got to put a professional hat on.
Absolutely.
Right. So if we're classing like professionalism to be deemed as something that is only sectioned for Europeans, then that's stupid. He's putting on a professional hat where you can't necessarily be in certain establishments and actually be yourself when it comes to people of color. Now, Timothy Bradley is a professional. He's a very, very underrated fighter. He's a 2-time world champion. His opinion should be very, very valid, and it should be taken as that, and it shouldn't be nothing to do with his personal life, but him putting his professional hat on and giving a professional opinion. And I think there is no one more valid than to have an opinion on the state of what is going on right now than him, because PBC fighters are not fighting top-ranked fighters, right?
Yeah.
And the only one that is seemingly open to say, I'll fight anybody, is actually Deontay Wilder. Now, and that's the truth. Yeah. He's actually speaking the truth. Now, if I said it now, do you know what I mean? I don't think I don't got any backlash from Errol Spence, because I'm seen to be down with the program. I'm like, people know what I stand on, right? So I think it's a little bit harsher on Timothy Bradley, and I think it's more of a personal attack on him than a professional one.
Absolutely. Moving on. I want to take a quick look at the finish of Commie Lopez, after which I'm going to ask you one simple question. If we can get the footage up now, here it comes. Once again, Spencer, you can't see this, but I know you watched the fight. He, shades of Cuevas Hearns turned into a noodle when he took that right hand. Richard Commie, he was kind of a sitting duck for the varied attack of Lopez when the referee waved him back in. We're just seeing the finish now on our screens. Getting hit with everything but the kitchen sink.
Well, I'm glad that you're seeing it, because I'm visualizing it in my head now. Now, in the second round, it wasn't the right hand that knocked him down. That was the punch that caused the trouble. It was actually the left hook by Teofimo Lopez. He caught with a left hook, and it stunned him. But Richie Comey kind of styled it out. So you have to have a professional eye when you're looking at this. Like, I was speaking to Bobby Tunde, the trainer of Anti-Yard, about this fight as well. And that was the punch. That was the punch that hurt him first. He got hurt by that.
Left hook center. Yeah.
And then he got caught the right hand. His legs dipped the same way as he did against Robert Easter Jr. Now, I don't understand. Like, if you know that you're open for right hands, and he is open for right hands, why do you fight with your attacking left jab as your sparing jab that you've got? Why do you fight from such a low guard? Because it leaves you susceptible to right hands. Yeah. So you got caught with left hook, and that proves to me that Teofimo Lopez was he 22 years old?
20, right? I believe he's 21 still. Maybe 22, sorry, 21, just about.
Sorry, 21 years old. That means he's done his homework. He's done his homework. Him and his camp, they should be commended. They've done their homework, and they got the result because, like I'm saying, he didn't impress me in his last two fights. I was watching. I was like, nah,
Before we address this weekend's action, I'll ask you one simple question. Vasyl Lomachenko looked decidedly underawed at ringside and simply said, "He's a world champion. Welcome to my club. I see you in April." And when they asked for his thoughts, he said, "I don't really have any. It was very quick. You can't think much." You know, can he beat Vasyl Lomachenko if they fight next year, Spencer, or not?
No, I don't believe that he can beat Vasily Lomachenko, but I didn't think he's going to beat Richie Comey.
Not the way he did.
No, and especially not in the fashion that he did. So, you know what? He's always called for this fight. And I was speaking to Antonio Otava, the former light heavyweight champion of the world who famously knocked out Roy Jones. Yeah. And he was saying to me, if he believed what people had said to him about Roy Jones, he would have never beat Roy Jones.
No, exactly, for sure.
Right.
It has to come down to a mindset, you know, sometimes.
Thank you. And what I do like about...
Hunnigan.
Right, 100%. Lloyd Hunnigan versus Donald Curry, what was that? September 1986. Same thing. It's your mind. So he's saying, like, he's never really rated him from he came into the game. He's never really rated. He's seen things, what he thinks that he can exploit inside of the great man. We got to give him his dues that he is a great man. He's a great man, and he thinks that he could exploit certain things in him. So we shall see. That is it. We shall see.
Looking ahead to this weekend's action, Spencer, I'm going to ask the production boys to flash the first image up on the screen because I can't remember. Okay, looking at London Town, first of all, you have streaking heavyweight prospect Dynamite Daniel Dewar with what appears to me to be a fairly routine assignment against the Japanese fighter who surname certainly is Fujimoto. I've already forgotten what his Christian name is. But listen, Spence, I looked for a bit of background on Fujimoto, as I always would do.
Yeah, and he's lost one fight early on, which was he fought a very good dealer record-wise. I think the guy was 19-3.
Yeah,
beat him, and that was. What was that? That was 7 years ago.
Sure, and the only action I could find of him in moving pictures on YouTube was 7 years ago when he fought a guy that you may know, Clarence Tillman, on Facebook.
I know Clarence Tillman. He's our good friend on Facebook.
He gets involved in the threads. He always makes his contribution. I don't always agree with him, but he's a good guy.
Nice guy.
Yes, and I was looking at it with no disrespect to Clarence, who does seem like a lovely individual.
But he's a journeyman, and he admits that he's a journeyman.
He's a journeyman. Fujimoto looked like his chin was hung up in the air like a weather vane. He looked slow. He looked ponderous. It just looked like, unless he's improved dramatically beyond recognition in the last 7 years, which I allow for the possibility, then I think he's going to be taken out of there like one of those demolition buildings on Saturday night. Personally, I don't know how you're reading it.
This is a point of good matchmaking to keep Daniel Dubois out there against mediocre opposition, but their records look pretty decent. And there's a guy's only lost one fight, and it was 7 years ago. So therefore, you got to think, if you're Japanese and you're a heavyweight, you're either too small to be a sumo wrestler, which is their national sport out there.
Or too fat to be a light heavyweight.
And too fat to be a light heavyweight. So therefore, I don't think much of this guy. He can punch. And I don't care who you've knocked out. You could have knocked out your mum 10 times. You're still showing me that.
Is that a Lloyd Hunnigan line when he was talking at Breeders' Prescott that time ahead of that sensational upset versus Amir Khan?
Very, 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 very smart. That's very true, right? So I'm saying I'll have to Daniel Dubois inside four or 5 rounds.
Let's have a look at the scenarios with what the money men are saying, Spencer. It's quite sagely that you've preempted that, because there is where the value is. I'll just give you the straight win options at the minute. The bookies are saying Dubois to win is 1 to 100, so he's 100 to 1 on to win. So you can do the maths. You'd have to put 100 quid to make a pound on Dubois, just the straight win scenario. He's 20 to 1 to win by decision. So if you believe Fujimoto can be there at the final bell, then you've got some great value there. The draw is 33 to 1. I want to look. You said you thought he would take him inside of 5 rounds. You just told me. I'm going to look at the round group bet in here now. I'll be honest with you, Spencer. I fancy the first 3 rounds. If the screen can change, that would be wonderful. Guys, thank you. Listen, I fancy him in the first 3 rounds. I've got to be honest with you, Spencer, but that is only 4 to 9 with Sky Bet. Your bet, Daniel Dubois in rounds 4 to 6, is 3 to 1. I don't even want to talk about I could always be wrong. I've been wrong before, and will be wrong again. But I don't even want to look at the scenarios beyond 6 rounds. Can I tie you down? Are you going with Dubois rounds 4 to 6 at 3 to 1?
Nah, you know what? You changed my mind, because yesterday I was speaking about this, and Tundi was saying to me, 1 round. So therefore, I'm going 1 to 3. Right.
1 to 3. Okay, we're only getting 4 to 9 on that. Let's shoot ahead to a British title fight on the same card, featuring one of my favourite domestic fighters and a very nice young man to boot. Sonny Edwards contests the vacant British super flyweight title against one Marcel Braithwaite. Now, I was having a little look at Braithwaite. I'm familiar with him in any case, Spencer. But do you realise that he's never faced an opponent in 10 pro fights with a winning record? Sonny Edwards will be the first man to face him with a winning record. Go on.
That is a very, very horrible baptism for you to go in there. You've never fought no one with a winning record, and the first man you're getting to face is Sonny Edwards, the brother of former world champion Charlie Edwards. Then you're in for a torrid night.
And Sonny is slicker than hell. I mean, I don't want to overextend with the superlatives and comparisons, but he genuinely does. His fluidity and variety and the effortlessness of his boxing, it does echo, the Willie Pep kind of approach to the sweet science.
Of course, it does. And to young kids out there, Willie Pep was former featherweight world champion, and he was an excellent professional fighter.
One of your favourite fighters, I know.
He is. He's one of my favourite fighters of all time. He's excellent. And he does. He kind of has that kind of style, but he does bite down his gum shield as well to put in hard shots, which is something totally different from Willie Pep. So I'm a fan of Sonny's. I like Sonny. I like his approach. Not only his approach as he takes things inside the ring, not even his training, but just him as a human being. I like him as a human being. He's a very funny kid, right?
He is, yeah. He is funny, and he's somewhat. Funny. He is also somewhat honorary black in a sense. He just seems to have that kind of swagger to him, in terms of some of. He likes his hip hop lyrics. He likes his kind of, Showtime.
No, I don't. What like I'm saying is like. I can't turn around and say like honorary black, but what I can say is like he's very to the culture of
urban
of and that's what I want to put it down to. I don't want to put it down to it's a black culture, it's a white culture. He's very to the culture of the urbanization of the UK. He's very much that.
Okay, so I don't entertain too much possibility of him slipping up to win his first truly major, credible title on Saturday night in Stratford. But I couldn't find a lot of odds for this one, Spencer. But they're just the threadbare basic scenario here. Edwards to win is 1 to 16, so you'd have to bet heavily to see any kind of return on him. The draw is 33 to 1 again. Marcel Braithwaite, for anyone who does think he'll upset the apple cart. And I was talking to a fella called Gaz Green, a mutual friend of mine, and Tim Witherspoon's, who works for Roma Security, who said he does fancy Marcel. I said, not this time, mate. He said 2019 is the year of upsets. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow night. But not tomorrow night. It's only Thursday, isn't it? I don't know what day of the week it is. I don't think it's going to happen on Saturday night. But if you do fancy it, then you should definitely get on it, because Sky Bet are offering you 15 to 2 if you fancy Braithwaite to lift that vacant domestic crown. Can't see it, Spencer.
Neither can I. I see Charlie Edwards coming out victorious. And there's no disrespect to Braithwaite. Nice kid. I've seen him box a couple of times. But I just think Charlie's got a little bit more about
Sonny,
him. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
I say Charles. My apologies. Yeah, Sonny's got a little bit more about him, so I've got him winning.
As have I, absolutely. Okay, Spencer, tonight in Phoenix, Arizona, we see the return of Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who's only seen one round of action since his loss back in the spring of 2017 to Saul Canelo Alvarez, who's taken on the Miracle Man, Danny Jacobs. If I could get that image up, that would be wonderful once again. Thank you, guys. It looks good as well. I like it. Yeah, you've got Jacobs versus Chavez Jr. Spencer, there is a subtext and a kind of peripheral story to this that you will be aware of. And Bob Arum criticised our, British promotional czar Eddie Hearn about it this week through the usual channels when he said, you'll be aware that Chavez Jr. refused to submit to a random drugs test by VADA, VADA, Voluntary Anti-Doping Service, recently, to the point where the Nevada State Athletic Commission duly suspended his license. So Eddie Hearn moved the whole show out to Phoenix, Arizona. And Bob Arum said it's crazy what he's doing. It's putting his Nevada license at risk, which clearly no major boxing global power broker would want to do. And it's suggested that it's also a federal violation of the Muhammad Ali Act. What's your take on this, of the refusal to take the drugs test and Eddie Hearn's contingency plan?
Mate, you know what? You see, when it comes to drugs and all the rest of it, I'd rather just keep my mouth shut, because last time I spoke about
you got in trouble.
Last time I spoke about anyone on drugs, you know what I mean, I got a tap on the shoulder from the big boys at a very big corporate company. So,
I told my mum that, my mum's in the studio. She'd come along today. She was hoping to meet you, but you didn't make it. But I told her that you got in trouble for saying Oscar Rivas rumouredly failed a drug test. Don't start, I don't want any legal letters from anybody for saying it. I'm not saying it. Spencer said it, and he's now retracted it.
I said, no, I'm not retracted. I said allegedly.
Allegedly,
I said allegedly.
That's a very important word.
It is a very important word, because I said I heard allegedly. So, you know what I mean? But I faced bigger things than that, but not only that, but I'm also going to back Dylan White, and I didn't like how everyone was jumping on the back of, turned on Dylan White, and I'm saying, if you're my mate, you're my mate, and remember, when he was a kid, he came around me firstly to want to know about boxing, so I have that relationship with him, and I want people to realize that loyalty is royalty, you know what I mean? And if you're my mate, then I back you to the ends, right?
Yeah.
And
so
then I'll pull you to one corner and I'll say you're wrong, but I ain't pulling you up publicly and saying that you're wrong.
That's a good value base. So it's something you don't wish to be drawn on the issue of the refusal.
No, I'm joking. Of course I'm going to talk about it. No, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. But the thing about it is this, right? And this is not me gunning Eddie Hearn. He's just saying, well, look, we can't have it there. Well, let's have it anywhere else. But I do, for the safety of Daniel Jacobs. Why is someone? So you obviously know that someone's on something then, because you're not.
It doesn't look good, does it, Spencer? It does not look good.
Right? No, it doesn't. So what would I be thinking? Me personally, I'd be sitting there saying, well, you know what? That don't look good. But the thing about it is this: Danny Jacobs is a friend of mine. I love that kid to death.
Yeah.
I remember going out and working with him in 2007.
Yeah.
We went out to New York. Right. He's a really, really good guy. I knew he's belated, who's passed away now. His grandmother who looked after him. Yeah. So I got a lot of time. For Danny Jacobs.
Typically, in keeping with that very classy persona he has, I don't know if you've seen, but his ring wear on the night, which Matt Bedweather Gale gave me a preview of the other day, his shorts, his robe, they're all themed as a tribute to Patrick Day, the fighter who sadly lost his life a few months ago.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know what I mean? Like I said, I got nothing but love and respect for Danny Jacobs, and I'm really, really happy that you see, like, it's going to be easy for me to turn around and say, oh, well, Eddie Hearn is taking his show out there and blah, 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 and all the rest of it. Danny Jacobs needs to fight someone. And I don't care what form of if he's on anything, right? I don't care what he's not beating Danny Jacobs. Danny Jacobs is a class act. Danny Jacobs is technically way more sound than Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And we haven't seen Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. do anything in his career.
They both effectively lost to Canelo last time out. Chavez Jr. does have a one-round win over some guy whose name escapes me right now, but he does have the one outing since then, which is relatively meaningless. So they're both coming off a reversal to the Mexican cash cow, Saul Canelo Alvarez. I think it will go distance. I think the fight will go the distance. Maybe not.
Yeah, you know what? So do I. I do think the fight will go the distance. Danny Jacobs is a big guy, but now the fight's at super middleweight. Maybe we're going to see a bit. Not maybe. I believe that we're going to see a better Danny Jacobs. I think we're going to see a sharper Danny Jacobs, a guy that didn't have to kill himself to make weight as he was before. Like, he still has to kill himself because he's a big unit. He's a unit of a man.
Yeah.
Maybe Danny Jacobs could force a
stoppage. Well, particularly if Chavez has not been.
I would go for him on points. I would safely go for Danny Jacobs, unanimous points victory.
That's the way I see it also. I'm right with you on that once again. I mean, it's sometimes been suggested, never mind about performance-enhancing drugs, Chavez Jr. has been linked before with recreational drugs and perhaps not living the life and perhaps having some of the sense of entitlement and arrogance of being the son of a man who is an absolute deity in Mexican boxing circles and Mexican culture in general. Let's have a look. Once again, Spencer, I couldn't find a lot of odds for this, but for what it's worth, Danny Jacobs, the money men very much echo your thoughts and mine on this. Jacobs is 1-25 to win, so there's no value there. Reversal of that, the draw is 25-1. And Chavez Jr., for anyone who does think he will come good tomorrow night, he's 8-1. I don't fancy it. Like I say, I do think he's a bit of a unit, Chavez Jr. I think he's proven he can take a shot over the years. He seems to have inherited his dad's chin, if not much of the other fistic magic. I'm the same as you. I'm saying Jacobs on points. So I wouldn't rule out the stoppage. I think the stoppage is more likely than the upset.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, moving on to the final segment. We have tomorrow night as well at the Toyota Arena in Ontario, California. I didn't know there was an Ontario in California. I was aware of the one in Canada. But in Ontario, California, on Saturday night, Spencer, you see Jamel Charlo getting his chance to set the record straight against WBC light middleweight champion Tony Harrison, who scored a minor upset against him back in the this time last year, more or less. It was exactly 12 months ago, more or less, give or take. It was something. He's an unsung, unglamorous kind of guy, Harrison, but he is very solid. He hails from the fighting city of Detroit.
Sorry to cut you. Did Harrison used to be trained by Emmanuel Stewart?
You know what, Spencer? I don't actually know that. I know he's a Kronk guy.
I think he used to be. I think it's him. I think at one time I seen him fight in Germany. I believe that's him. I could be wrong.
If you were from Detroit and you've got any kind of boxing background, you must have worked with Manny Stewart at some point. But
it's definitely he definitely did. I remember seeing the kid. It's definitely him. Then, right?
He's trained by his father these days, in actual fact, I believe. But Charlo was being billed as one of the emerging stars of the sport. Obviously, there's a nice angle.
He still is. Him and his brother, they still are.
Exactly, and the fact that they're twins, obviously, it's a nice angle. Sometimes, I'll be honest, because they're very similar weights and they're only separated by a vowel sound in nomenclature. You know, you've got Jamal and Jamel. It took me a little while to get familiar with each individual guy and his personality and style, because I would get them constantly mixed up. But for those who might be suffering any confusion on that account, Jamal is the middleweight, and Jamel,
WBC champion.
And Jamel is the light middleweight who's getting a chance to regain his WBC title in California on Saturday night. Looking at the first fight, Spencer, and I did watch it again this morning in anticipation of this segment. What Harrison was doing is what I would actually call genuine back foot boxing. I always bang on about this endlessly, but I think people wrongly assume that back foot boxing is about dancing like Hector Camacho, Willie Pep, or young Cassius Clay, or whatever. When actually, I think it's when you sit on the back foot in that defensive stance and you counter. You know, I think, and he does that. He does it very well. You know. He's workmanlike and he's unspectacular, but he is very effective. The essential question, as in any rematch in this scenario, is can Charlo, who was fancied in the first place and is still the favourite for Saturday night, which I will get to in a second, can he make significant adjustments, and has he learnt enough from the first fight to turn it around?
You know what? If you watched the first fight, when you said you watched it this morning, everything that Charlo was doing was power-based.
It was.
He weren't feeling in, and offer like that. If someone can take your shots, or can actually ride your shots, which Harrison did, made him be victorious. Now he's got to change his game plan. He needs to be throwing a lot of double jabs in there, which I believe that he can do. But
Because he was throwing a 1-2 all the time last time. He was loading up with a right hand. He was throwing 1-2.
everything was right hand based
And occasional left hook.
because he knows that he can punch, right?
Yeah.
So therefore he's thinking, right, I'm just gonna take this dude out. Don't even like this dude. This guy's a punk to me. Blah blah blah. Right. He needs to be less emotionally involved. But I've been watching the heads-to-heads that they've been having, and that Harrison geezer's really got underneath his skin.
Yeah.
Really got underneath his skin. And I don't think that's the wrong way for you to get somebody like him to get underneath your skin, because you're going to repeat the same nonsense that you did the last time out. He was loading up. He wasn't throwing 1-2s. He weren't doubling up on the jab. He was throwing hard shots. You're going there, hook to the body, hook to the head, big right hand over the top.
Yeah.
And it'd be tight, everything tight. Like you do a lot of weights and stuff like that. It wasn't fluid.
No, for sure. And I think it's
yeah.
I think it's one of those scenarios where you don't expect a guy to still be there in the like 10th, 11th, and 12th, and you suddenly think, you know what, I've been mugged here. I've been pickpocketed of this decision and my title, because this guy is quietly effective, and you know what, he might be winning, and it almost might come as a shock, because I think he believed he was going to stop him. How negative will it be, a second loss for Charlo, who is being marketed alongside his twin brother, as you said, to be standard bearers of the sport and to be crossover stars? How bad will that be for him?
It would be bad, but they are with PBC, so they'll get another shot.
Yeah.
He'll get another shot at somebody else. That's how it goes.
Okay, let's have a look what the odds makers are saying once again. Tony Harrison is 15-8, so he is still an underdog, a very live underdog, and a defending champion, I hasten to add, going into the fight. The draw is 33-1. Charlo still a favourite, Spencer, at 2-5. Which way are you going to bet? I know you're not a gambling man, we've discussed it countless times, but for the sake of a hypothesis, who would you bet on?
I'm going Charlo split decision points.
I agree with you see, because the value isn't really there. If I was trying to put together an accumulator with the 4 fights we've isolated for prediction this weekend, I would be looking at the Harrison thing. I do think Harrison could pull it off again. I think he's like what people remember, that American term, a sleeper, a previously unregarded thing that rises to prominence. He very much ticks that box. But I don't think you can remove the political machinations of the game and the commercial forces. I remember Barry Hearn once said to me on the original Tip TV show, when he was talking about Saul Alvarez versus Erislandy Lara, and the fact that Alvarez got the decision that many people didn't agree with, and he said, yes, but Alvarez is the bigger commercial animal, isn't he? And he said, I'm not saying it's crooked, but there's a natural tendency to veer towards the bigger commercial animal. I do think
that's what happens.
I do think if it's close again, if it's a close fight, which I think we could be seeing another distance fight, then do you not think, well, obviously you do think, because that's what you've told me, you've said a split decision victory for Charlo. This is ultimately what I believe in. I don't really like predicting split decisions or unanimous decisions, because I find a lot of fans who do that online, they don't actually know what unanimous means. They think it means wide when it simply means a uniformity of opinion. And they sometimes think split decision means close, when, as you know, time and time again in boxing, we just see one ludicrous card which is completely at variance with the other 2 cards on the night. I do think that Charlo will get the either on merit or just because he gets a squeeze with the judges. I feel it in my bones for Charlo to regain his title while not writing Harrison off. Are you with that?
Yep, I hear you, and So I'm with you on that one, my friend.
Here's the only one then, right? Just to close this up. If I was going to offer accumulator, you've heard our individual picks from myself and Master Knowledge. If I was going to make an accumulator this week, I would say Dewar inside of 3 rounds. I'd say Sonny Edwards simply to win, because that was the only odds I could find. I would say Danny Jacobs simply to win, and I would go with Harrison for my accumulator, although my individual pick is for Charlo to get the nod. To get the value up. If you stick a tenner on those 4 scenarios, you'll get odds of roughly 3.5 to 1, which is not great for an acca. It's the best I could find you this week. It will see you get a return of 45 quid. But don't be knocking on my door if it doesn't come good. Spencer, thank you once again for gracing me with your knowledge and virtual presence. I know it's your birthday tomorrow too, so can I say many happy returns from myself and everybody here at Call London. Okay, be lucky, have a good weekend, and I'll see you very soon. Thank you for watching. Don't forget our wonderful sponsors, Fightline and Westbound Logistics, without whom none of this would be possible. We wish you a very Merry Christmas, be lucky and keep punching.